Moving on, the cause of peace has made a lot of progress today. The words of the French president as he hosted talks between Libya's rival leaders on the outskirts of Paris this Tuesday. Prime Minister Fayez al-Sarraj and the country's eastern commander Khalifa Haftar say they are now both committed to a conditional ceasefire and for fresh elections to be held next year. This, though, is what Emmanuel Macron had to say after those talks.
I will do everything in my power to support your efforts in the reconciliation process and to fight effectively against these terrorist groups. What's happening today in Libya is what's at the heart of the destabilization created by the Islamic State militant group, Al-Qaeda, and other terrorist organizations operating in the Middle East and in parts of Africa. They must be eradicated, and we will help you achieve that.
Well, for more on the detail and the implications of this meeting in the Paris region, we can cross now live to Cairo and speak to Hugh Miles, the editor of Arab Digest. Thank you very much for being with us here on France 24. First of all, just how significant are the outcomes of this Paris meeting in your view?
This meeting represents a step towards a political settlement. But it is not, by no means, is it the end of Libya's many problems. And previous deals like this have failed. So it is a hopeful move. But Libya is in a real mess, and this is not going to be an easy win for Macron, who, of course, is a novice to this kind of international politics. Libya is very complicated, and it is deeply divided. It has even split the EU on how it should be handled. These problems are going to continue, I think. I don't think today's meetings are a magic bullet.
But this is still being billed, though, isn't it, as like a major step forward, a breakthrough of kinds?
It's hardly a breakthrough. I mean, these two guys have met before. It didn't come to anything. There's a lot of problems with what's happened today. People not invited. The Tripoli Salvation Front didn't attend, and the meeting is in future that they have to somehow be brought into the deal, and al-Sarraj has to tackle the Tripoli militias in future, and he doesn't have the capacity to do that. And so this means that he will fail to meet his part of the agreement very lightly. And then Haftar will presumably break the agreement too. And this could lead to civil war. And civil war is obviously what Macron is trying to avert. So that's a commendable objective. But it's going to be very difficult to make this agreement stick.
But this must still be a result that's being welcomed by many European governments who've been battling a huge migrant influx in recent years, partly, of course, sparked by the situation in Libya.
Well, that's right. Europe is rather desperate and is looking for anything to stem the flow of migrants. And that's why they've latched on to Khalifa Haftar, who is this very fishy general who spent years living in Langley, where the CIA are based during the Gaddafi era. And although he has what appears to be an awful human rights record, he has managed to convince the world, it seems, increasingly, that he is a indispensable player in this story. And so he's the main beneficiary from these meetings today, because they give him a lot of political legitimacy. But before this, Khalifa Haftar had been, his best hope was really to be Minister of Defense in an al-Sarraj government. And now it seems that he's being brought in as a kind of equal partner. And this is because his forces have done well on the ground. They have taken a lot of Libya, the eastern part of the country, Benghazi, in recent months and weeks, using air power, which is against the UN resolution. He is backed by Egypt and the UAE. They are using airplanes, and this is contrary to the UN resolution that was reaffirmed last month. saying that there should be no outside interference in Libya's civil war. And one of the problems with this agreement is that this looks set to continue because counter-terrorism operations are allowed. And obviously this means that both sides can interpret terrorism as they like. So they can really carry on doing a lot of fighting despite this.
Hugh Miles in Cairo, that's all we have time for. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you.